Hello, welcome to this lesson of our study of um, absolute values. Okay, so in this lesson we just go through what an absolute value is. Okay, so all these that we are doing are actually prerequisite topics for calculus 1. Okay, all right, so I hope you just take them serious so that when we start with differentiability, continuity, and the rest, you'll be able to catch up. Okay. Alright, so if you have not subscribed to the channel, kindly subscribe, okay, so that you can support the channel also. Now, absolute values. Now, the absolute value of x is defined as, so this is a symbol, the double bar, okay, is a symbol for absolute value, okay. So absolute of x is actually equal to x, okay, if x is greater than or equal to 0, and it's also equal to negative x if x is less than 0, okay. So this means that the absolute value of a number will always yield a positive number or 0. Now, the reason why I didn't say it will always yield a positive number is that 0 is neither positive nor negative, okay? So what if x is equal to 0? Then the absolute of 0 is equal to 0, which is neither positive nor negative. So if I say that it will always yield a positive answer, that is wrong, okay? So what you can say is that, so let's say if x is equal to, let's say let me use a different color, okay. Let's say if x is equal to let's say 5, then the absolute of 5 is 5 positive. Yes, it's greater than 0. So you use this condition, okay, it should be equal to the same x, that will be 5, which is greater than 0, okay. Now, if x is equal to negative 5, then the absolute of negative 5 is equal to negative of negative 5, okay, which will give me positive 5, because we said that absolute value of x is negative of x if x is less than 0. Now, x was less than 0, which is negative 5. So the absolute of negative 5 will be negative of negative 5, and that will be positive, okay. That is why I said that absolute value will always yield a positive number or 0, okay. I hope this is okay. So let's move ahead and go through some things we should know, okay. Now, absolute value problem. So we have two forms of absolute value problems, okay. So the problems involved in absolute value is either absolute value equation problem or absolute value inequality problem, okay. So in either way, the way of solving it is different, okay. So in this main course, or in this main video, we'll talk about absolute value equation problems. Then in a subsequent discussion, we'll be talking about the absolute value inequality problems, okay. So absolute value equation problem. Now, steps in solving this. If you have an absolute value equation problem, first of all, try to isolate the absolute value. So make sure that you have only absolute of something at the left side of the equation. So let's say you have absolute of, let's say, x plus something equals something, okay. So isolate it at the left side, okay. I should have added that of the equation, okay. Now identify what the isolated value is set to equal to, okay. So if I have absolute of something is equal to something, okay, let's say absolute of x plus 1, okay, is equal to something. What is it equal to? Is it a positive number? Is it 0? Is it a negative? Okay, then we'll just talk about it. If it is in 3 cases, you have 3 cases, you see that the absolute value is equal to a negative number, okay. When it is equal to negative number, what can we discuss or what can we conclude about it? And when it's equal to 0, what can we say? When it's equal to a positive number, what can we also say? Okay, so let's take them one by one and discuss about them. So if the absolute value is set to equal to a negative number, the equation has no solution. This is because absolute value, I said that it will always yield a positive or a 0. It will never yield something that will be less than 0, okay. That is why in the definition we said that if x is negative, you have to negate it again. So it means if you negate a negative, you get positive. So always you get a positive value or a 0. That is the case. So if that is the first case, if absolute value is set equal to a negative number, the equation has no solution. And the second case is if the absolute value is set equal to 0, then the equation has only one unique solution. When it's equal to 0, we have only one unique solution. Because if I have x equals 0, okay, if I tell you that, let's look at this. If I tell you that absolute of something, okay, is equal to 0, okay, absolute of that thing is equal to 0, it means it's only one value that the absolute will always give you 0. Let's say it's 0, okay. So it can be like absolute of x minus 1 should be equal to 0. What will be the value of x that when I put here I'll get 0? It should be 1. Okay, so the solution to this should be only one solution, so that the bracket here will be 0. Since we know that it's only 0 that the absolute will always give you 0, it means we have only one solution that will give us what we require. Okay, then the second is, if that is the case, then remove the absolute value symbols and solve it linearly. So like I said, if I have this minus 1 equals 0, we know that automatically the absolute of 0 equals 0. So it means the values of x that when I put here will make the whole of this bracket or the inside function be 0 is what we need. Okay, but if you want to solve it, if the function is very tedious for you, then what you can do is first remove the absolute value symbols and equate it to 0 and solve it. Okay, solve it linearly. So when I solve this implies that x will be equal to 1. Indeed, we needed only 1 here so that it will be very perfect. Okay, so that is the condition, the explanation to the condition, or that is how we'll solve such questions. Okay, now let's move ahead to the big ones. Okay, the positive one. Now if the absolute value is set equal to a positive number, the equation has two unique solutions. This is what you should know. When it is set to a positive number, the equation has what? Two unique solutions. Now, how do you solve it? Remove the absolute value symbol. First, set the expression in the absolute value equal to the number and solve the equation for one solution. Okay, so if it is equal to a positive number, first remove the absolute value symbols, equate the expression inside the absolute value symbol equal to that number and solve it linearly for your solution. Now, secondly, to get the second solution, set the expression in the absolute value equal to the opposite sign of the number and solve for the other solution. Okay, so to get the other solution, we said you should get two solutions. The first solution, you just remove the absolute value symbol, go away, and then solve it. You are done. Second solution, remove the absolute value symbol, negate your positive number at the right side, and solve for the other solution. Okay. All right, so let's take examples and look at how you can solve them. So solve for x in this. Okay, so to solve for this, first of all, the first step is what? Isolate. So we are supposed to isolate the absolute value symbol or the absolute at one side. Absolute value at one side. So we have absolute value of the expression 3x minus 7. Okay, then should be equal to 2 minus 7. And this will give us what? Absolute of 3x minus 7, and this is equal to negative 5. So this is what the first step talks about. Now the second step is we should check what number is this equal to, the right side of the equation. Now it is negative. When it is negative, what can we say? We say that when the absolute value is equal to a negative, we have what? No solution. So no solution to this question. That is the solution. No solution to this question. It has no solution. I mean, the absolute of anything will never be equal to a negative number. Okay, now let's move on to the next question. Okay, the next question says solve for x in the equation absolute of 3x, okay, plus 12 plus 7 equals 7. So here we said isolate. Okay, so the first thing is you are supposed to isolate this This should be equal to 7 minus 7, because I have absolute of 3x plus 12 equals 0. Okay, now with this, since it is equal to 0, it has only one unique solution, and the way of solving is just remove the absolute value symbol, and just solve your equation linearly. Okay, so what you can do here is 3x equals negative 12, divide both sides by 3. I have x equals negative 4. That is the solution to this. Okay, in this, when I put negative 4 here, the expression in the absolute symbol will be equal to 0, as when the absolute will also give us 0. Okay, this is very simple like that. Now the next question is, you're supposed to solve for x if the absolute value of 3x minus 7 plus 7 equals 9. So with this, first of all, you are supposed to do what? Do the isolation first. That is what you should think about. Okay, isolate it. 3x minus 7 equals 9 minus 7. Okay, and this will give us absolute of 3x minus 7 equals 2. So now it is equal to a positive number. So what can we do? We say that, first of all, remove the absolute value symbols, okay, and solve it to get your first solution. So I got 3x equals 2 plus 7. Now I have x, or 3x equals 9. So I have x equals what? 3. That's the first solution. Now with the second solution, we said remove the absolute value symbol and equate it to the opposite of the number. So the number was 2. So when I equate it to the opposite, it will become negative 2. So I have 3x equals negative 2 plus 7. Okay, I hope you get this. So I have 3x equals 5. Now x is equal to what? 5 over 3. So I have two solutions for this. When x equals 5 over 3, it works, and when x equals 3, it also works. Okay, so these are the solutions we'll get for when we have a positive number. Now let's look at this. This is very unique. Okay, absolute equals absolute. Okay, now we didn't talk about this. How you can solve this is very simple. Okay, with this, what you do is, first of all, okay, you have x plus 5 absolute equals absolute of 2x plus 1, or sorry, it's minus 1 rather. Okay, so what you do here is just remove the absolutes from them, equate them just like that, and solve. Okay, so first you have two solutions, but here what you do is this. First of all, solve it like this. Okay, solve it like this, remove and solve it. Minus 1. Now I have x minus 2x equals negative 1 minus 5. So I have minus x equals negative 6. Then x equals what? 6. And the second thing is remove the absolutes of the first one, and that will be x plus 5, and equate it to the negative or the opposite of the second one. So this is what you do. Okay, so I have x plus 5 equals negative 2x plus 1. Now take this negative 2x to the other side of the equation. I have x plus 2x equals 1 minus 5. Okay, so I have 3x equals negative 4. S equals negative 4 over 3. So you see, we have two solutions. So when you have two absolute equating like that, this is how you solve it. Okay, I hope you understand this. So that is it for the absolute value equation problem. Okay, so in our next discussion, we'll talk about deeper examples about the same absolute value equation problem. Then from there, we'll go to the absolute value inequalities problem. Okay, thank you, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel to support the channel as well. Like, share, and comment for more videos. Okay.